The velvet box felt wrong in my hands the moment I picked it up. It was too light, too hollow, as if it held nothing but air. My engagement ring, the stunning 3-carat diamond that Bruno had proposed with just months ago, was gone. I stood frozen in my bedroom, my heart pounding, staring at the empty indent where it should have been nestled safely while I showered. My name is Esther, and I never thought my own sister would betray me like this. "Mom," I called out, my voice cracking with panic as I rushed down the stairs, clutching the empty box. "Mom, have you seen my ring? Did you move it?" My mother looked up from her coffee, her perfectly manicured nails wrapped around her favorite mug, her expression calm but curious. "What do you mean, honey? Isn't it in your room?" "The box is empty." I thrust it toward her, my hands trembling with a mix of fear and frustration. "I always put it there when I shower. Always." She barely glanced at the box, her tone dismissive. "Maybe you misplaced it, sweetheart. You've been so scattered lately with all the wedding planning, haven't you?" That's when I heard it, the distinct sound of Sophia's laughter floating in from the backyard. My stomach dropped, a sickening twist of dread. I moved to the window, my breath catching in my throat. There she was, my sister, on her phone, twirling something on her finger that caught the sunlight in a way that was all too familiar. "Sophia." I stormed outside, the screen door slamming behind me with a sharp bang. "What are you doing with my ring?" She turned, and I saw it clear as day on her left hand, my ring, my 3-carat princess-cut diamond that Bruno had spent months saving for, the symbol of our future together. "Oh, hey, sis," she said, flashing that same sweet smile she'd used to get away with everything since we were kids. "Isn't it beautiful?" Zane proposed last night. The world tilted sideways, my vision blurring with rage and disbelief. "That's my ring," I said, my voice low but shaking. "Don't be ridiculous." She laughed, but her eyes darted away, betraying her. Zane picked it out himself. "Sophia Howard, take it off right now." My voice was steady now, despite the fury building inside me like a storm. "That is my engagement ring, and you know it. What's all this shouting about?" Our father appeared at the door, his brow furrowed, Mom right behind him, her coffee mug still in hand. "Sophia stole my engagement ring," I said, turning to them, my voice rising with every word. "She's trying to pass it off as her own. Daddy, tell her to stop." Sophia's lower lip trembled, her eyes wide with that practiced innocence she'd perfected over the years. "Why would I steal her ring? Zane proposed to me. He bought this." "Esther," Mom stepped forward, placing a hand on my arm, her tone soft but patronizing. "Your sister just got engaged. This should be a happy moment for our family." I jerked away from her touch, my heart pounding. "Are you serious right now? That is my ring." "It looks different than yours," Dad said, squinting at Sophia's hand, his voice uncertain. "The setting's not quite the same, is it? Because she had it altered." I was shouting now, my voice echoing across the quiet backyard, startling a flock of birds from a nearby tree. "Call Bruno. Call the jeweler. That is my ring." "Honey," Mom's voice took on that infuriating tone I'd grown to hate, the one that dismissed my feelings as if they were childish tantrums. "You're making a scene. Sophia and Zane are in love. They're getting married. Can you just be happy for your sister?" I looked between them, Mom's dismissive expression, Dad's uncomfortable avoidance, and Sophia's triumphant smirk, poorly disguised as innocence. 25 years of watching them favor her, excuse her, protect her, and somehow I was still surprised. "You know what?" I pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling but resolute. "Let's call Zane right now. Let's ask him where he bought the ring." Sophia's face went white, her confident facade crumbling. He's busy at work." "Perfect. I'll leave a message." I hit the call button, watching her squirm, her eyes darting like a trapped animal. "Stop it." She lunged for my phone, but I stepped back, holding it out of reach. "Fine. I borrowed it, okay? But Zane was going to propose, and we couldn't afford anything nice, and you have everything, the perfect job, the perfect fiancé, the perfect life." "Sophia." Mom hissed, her face paling, but the truth was out, hanging heavy in the air. I looked at my parents, waiting for their reaction, waiting for them to finally hold their precious baby accountable. Instead, Mom wrapped an arm around Sophia's shoulders, her voice firm but soothing. "We'll sort this out as a family. There's no need to involve Zane or make this public." Sophia made a mistake, but her intentions were pure. Love makes people do crazy things. Pure intentions? I laughed, the sound harsh and foreign even to my own ears. "She stole my engagement ring. We'll replace it," Dad offered quickly, his voice tinged with desperation. "A newer one even better." "That's not the point." I was trembling now, tears threatening to spill over, but I refused to let them fall. "She stole from me, lied about it, and you're defending her again." "Esther, please," Mom sighed, her tone dripping with exasperation. "Don't be so dramatic. We can fix this." I looked at my sister, still wearing my ring, still protected in our mother's embrace. Something inside me hardened, a lifetime of being the reasonable one, the responsible one, crystallizing into a fierce resolve. "You're right, Mom," I said quietly, my voice steady now. "We can fix this. And I will." I turned and walked away, their calls fading behind me like distant echoes. They had no idea what was coming, but they were about to learn that karma has a way of collecting its debts, and I was going to make sure it did. I spent the night at Kimberly's apartment, my phone buzzing with ignored messages from my family, each one a desperate plea or a veiled accusation. The next morning, I walked into my parents' house with purpose, my heart steeled against their excuses. They were all gathered in the kitchen, as if nothing had happened, as if the world hadn't shifted under my feet. "Oh, good, you're back," Mom said, sliding a plate of pancakes across the counter, her smile forced. "We were worried." "Were you?" I remained standing, my arms crossed, the empty velvet box still in my hand. "Or were you hoping I'd cool off and let this go, like always?" Sophia sat at the table, my ring still gleaming on her finger, a defiant glint in her eyes. She at least had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable, but not enough to take it off. "Sweetheart," Dad began, his voice cautious, "we've been talking and we think." "No," I cut him off, my tone sharp and unyielding. "You don't get to think anything. That ring is mine, and Sophia is going to take it off right now." Actually, Mom straightened her spine, her voice taking on that authoritative tone she used when she thought she could control the situation. "We've decided to help Sophia and Zane buy you a new ring. A better one. This way, everyone wins." I stared at her, incredulous, my blood boiling. "Everyone wins?" "My sister stole from me, lied to her boyfriend, and you want to reward her." "It's not rewarding," Sophia piped up, her voice small but defiant. "Zane loves me, and this ring, it just feels right on my finger, like it was meant to be mine." "You're delusional," I snapped, turning to our parents. "And you're enabling her again." "Now, that's enough," Dad's voice rose, his patience fraying. "We're trying to find a solution here. The only solution is Sophia returning what she stole and facing consequences for once in her life," I said, my voice unwavering. My phone rang, cutting through the tension like a knife. An unknown number. I answered it, turning away from my family's stares, my heart pounding. "Is this Esther?" a man's voice asked. "This is James from Crystal Jewelers. We have a situation regarding a ring purchase." My heart raced, a spark of hope igniting. "Yes, I'm Esther." "What kind of situation?" "A young woman brought in a ring for resizing yesterday. It matches the description of one we sold to a Mr. Bruno Grant 3 months ago. She claimed it was a gift from her boyfriend, but something felt off. We keep detailed records of our sales, especially for pieces of this value." I put the phone on speaker, locking eyes with Sophia, whose face had gone pale. "Go on," I said, my voice steady. "Well, when we checked the serial number, it matched Mr. Grant's purchase. The young woman gave her name as Sophia, said her boyfriend was named Zane, but our records show this ring belongs to you." Sophia jumped up, her voice shrill. "You had no right to check." "I had every right," I snapped, before addressing James. "Thank you for calling. That ring was stolen from me by my sister. She's trying to pass it off as her own engagement ring." The silence in the kitchen was deafening, heavy with the weight of truth. "I see," James said carefully. "In that case, We'll need proper documentation of ownership before proceeding with any alterations. And you may want to file a police report. No police. Mom burst out, her voice frantic. We can handle this privately. Thank you, James, I said firmly. I'll bring in the original receipt and documentation today. I hung up and faced my family, my resolve unshaken. Sophia's face had gone from pale to red, her hands clenched into fists. You're just jealous, she exploded, her voice trembling with rage. You can't stand that I'm happy, that someone wants to marry me too. Happy? I laughed, the sound bitter and raw. You think building a marriage on theft and lies will make you happy? Enough. Mom slammed her hand on the counter, her composure cracking. Sophia made a mistake, but involving jewelers and threatening police reports? That's going too far, Esther. We raised you better than this. No, Mom, I said, my voice low and steady, every word deliberate. You raised me to be the responsible one, the understanding one, while Sophia got away with everything. Well, not this time. Please, Sophia's voice cracked, her eyes brimming with crocodile tears. Zane will leave me if he finds out. You know how he is about honesty. I'll do anything. I'll pay you back. You should have thought about that before stealing my ring and lying to everyone, I said, grabbing my purse, the weight of my decision grounding me. I'm going to the jeweler. Then I'm calling Zane. You can't. Sophia lunged forward, grabbing my arm, her nails digging into my skin. Mom, Dad, stop her. Dad finally spoke, his voice tired but firm. Let her go, Sophia. This has gone too far. But she'll ruin everything. Sophia wailed, her voice breaking as she clutched at him. I pulled free from her grip, my heart pounding, but my mind clear. No, you ruined everything. I'm just making sure the truth comes out. As I walked out, Mom called after me, her voice desperate. If you do this, you'll tear this family apart. I paused at the door, looking back at them one last time, their faces a mixture of shock, guilt, and defiance. No, Mom, I said softly, my voice carrying the weight of years of unspoken pain. You and Sophia did that the moment you decided theft and lies were acceptable as long as your favorite daughter got what she wanted. The door closed behind me with a satisfying click, a final note in a song that had been playing for far too long. My phone buzzed, a text from the jeweler confirming they had located my purchase records. Perfect. It was time to show my sister that karma doesn't care about being the family favorite. I can't believe they're actually defending her, Kimberly said, sliding a glass of wine across her kitchen counter to me, her apartment a safe haven from the storm of my family's drama. I took a long sip, the receipt from Crystal Jewelers spread out in front of me, its crisp edges a reminder of the truth I was fighting for. You should have seen Sophia's face when the jeweler called, like a kid caught with her hand in the cookie jar, except the cookie is a 3-carat diamond worth 20 grand. So, what's the plan? Kimberly leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with that mischievous look she gets when she's ready for action. Please tell me you're going nuclear on this. My phone buzzed. Another text from Sophia. Please don't do this. I'll explain everything to Zane myself. I showed it to Kimberly, who raised an eyebrow. Yeah, right, I muttered, my thumb hovering over the reply button. She's just trying to buy time to spin another lie. She's playing you, Kimberly said, her voice firm. You know that, right? The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Kimberly peeked through the peephole and turned to me with wide eyes. It's your mom. Of course it is, I said, squaring my shoulders, bracing myself for another round of excuses. Let her in. Mom burst through the door like she owned the place, her designer purse swinging, her face a mask of determination. Esther, we need to talk. Alone. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of Kim, I said, my voice steady, refusing to let her control the narrative. Mom's lips tightened, but she relented. Fine. Sophia is devastated. She's been throwing up all morning, crying about how you're trying to ruin her life. That's rich, I laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. She steals my engagement ring, lies to everyone, and somehow I'm the bad guy? She made a mistake. Mom threw up her hands, her voice rising with frustration. We're offering to make it right. Your father already called the jewelry store. We can get you an upgraded ring, bigger than the original. It's not about the ring anymore, Mom, I said, my voice low and resolute. It's about Sophia facing consequences for once in her life. By destroying her relationship? By bringing shame to this family? Mom's eyes flashed with anger, but there was fear there too. Kimberly snorted, unable to stay silent. The only shame is how you're enabling a thief. Mom's head snapped toward her, her voice icy. This is a family matter. No, I said firmly, stepping forward, my heart pounding with the weight of my words. This stopped being just a family matter when Sophia dragged Zane into her lies. He deserves to know what kind of person he's planning to marry. She loves him, Mom pleaded, her voice softening, almost desperate. She was desperate. You know how much she struggled, while you've had everything handed to you. Handed to me? I slammed my wine glass down, the sound echoing in the quiet apartment. I worked my ass off for everything I have. I put myself through grad school. I built my career. I found a good man who loves me. None of that was handed to me. My sister, your daughter, is a thief who's about to learn that actions have consequences. I pulled out my phone, my fingers steady now. In fact, let's call Zane right now. Don't you dare. Mom lunged for my phone, but Kimberly stepped between us, her voice ice cold. Mrs. Howard, I suggest you step back. My phone was already ringing, 1 ring, 2 rings, 3. Hello. Zane's voice came through, clear but confused. Zane, it's Esther, I said, my voice calm but firm. We need to talk about Sophia's engagement ring. Esther, please, Mom's voice cracked with desperation, but I ignored her. What about it? Zane asked, a note of unease creeping into his tone. Is something wrong? I need you to meet me at Crystal Jewelers in an hour, I said, my eyes locked on Mom's, watching her face crumple. There's something you need to see. A pause, then okay. Should Sophia come too? No, I said firmly, my voice unwavering. Just you. After hanging up, Mom stared at me like I was a stranger, her eyes wide with disbelief. I never thought you could be so cruel. Cruel? I laughed, the sound raw and unapologetic. Cruel is watching your daughter steal from her sister and helping her cover it up. Cruel is letting Sophia lie to an innocent man about something as important as their engagement. Cruel is standing in someone else's home, trying to guilt-trip them into accepting more family betrayal. You've changed, Mom whispered, her voice trembling. No, I said, my voice steady and sure. I've finally had enough. Mom grabbed my arm as I moved past her, her grip desperate. If you do this, don't expect to be welcome at home anymore. I gently removed her hand, my heart heavy but resolute. That's fine. I'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who think love means enabling theft and lies. After Mom left, Kimberly hugged me tight, her voice soft but fierce. You okay? Actually, yeah, I said, picking up the receipt, my proof of ownership, feeling its weight in my hand. For the first time in forever, I feel like I'm doing exactly what I should be doing. Want me to come with you to meet Zane? She asked, her eyes searching mine. I shook my head, a small smile tugging at my lips. No, this is something I need to do alone. But keep your phone on. Something tells me Sophia is going to put on quite a show when she finds out what's happening. As I gathered my things to leave, my phone lit up with a text from Sophia. You'll regret this. I showed it to Kimberly, who raised an eyebrow. Sounds like a threat, she said, her tone laced with amusement. No, I smiled, slipping the receipt into my purse, my resolve unshaken. It sounds like someone who's finally about to face reality. And I can't wait to see it happen. Zane was already waiting outside Crystal Jewelers when I arrived, his hands stuffed in his pockets, his face a mix of confusion and concern. I'd always liked him. He was honest, hardworking, and genuine, everything my sister didn't deserve. Hey, he said, shifting nervously, his eyes searching mine. What's going on? Sophia's been calling me nonstop, but she won't say what's wrong. Let's go inside first, I said, holding the door open, my heart pounding, but my voice steady. There's something you need to see. James, the jeweler who had called me, looked up as we entered, recognition flashing across his face. Esther. And this must be Zane, Sophia's boyfriend. I nodded, my eyes never leaving Zane's. I have the documentation you requested. I pulled out the receipt and original purchase records, laying them carefully on the counter, each paper a piece of undeniable truth. What documentation? Zane stepped closer, peering at the papers, his brow furrowing. What is all this? The proof of purchase for that engagement ring Sophia is wearing, I said quietly, watching his face for the moment the truth would hit. The one you supposedly bought her. His face went blank, his eyes wide with shock. What are you talking about? Of course I bought her ring. James cleared his throat, his voice professional but firm. Sir, this receipt shows this ring was purchased by Bruno Grant 3 months ago. It was sold as an engagement ring for Esther. Zane's face drained of color, his hands shaking slightly as he picked up the receipt. There must be some mistake, Sophia said. Sophia lied, I said gently, my heart aching for him, but my resolve unwavering. She stole my engagement ring while I was in the shower, then tried to pass it off as a gift from you. No, he shook his head, his voice barely above a whisper. No, she wouldn't. The bell above the door chimed, sharp and jarring. We all turned to see Sophia burst in, her face streaked with tears, our mother right behind her, her expression a mix of panic and determination. Zane, baby, don't listen to her. Sophia rushed forward, grabbing his arm, her voice frantic. She's just jealous. She's trying to ruin everything. Is it true? Zane's voice was deadly quiet, his eyes locked on hers. Did you steal this ring? Of course not. I would never, Sophia's voice broke, her words tumbling over each other in desperation. The serial number matches, James interrupted, pointing to the documentation, his tone calm but unyielding. And we have the original security footage of Mr. Grant's purchase, if you'd like to see it. Sophia's grip on Zane's arm tightened, her voice rising hysterically. Baby, please, I can explain everything. Explain what? Zane jerked away from her, his face hardening, his voice low and dangerous. Explain how you stole your sister's engagement ring? Explain how you've been lying to me about where it came from. I did it for us. Sophia's voice rose, her words spilling out in a frantic rush. We've been together for 2 years, and you never proposed. I saw how happy Esther was with her ring, and I wanted that for us. So you stole it? Zane's face hardened, his voice thick with betrayal. You committed a crime and lied to my face about it? Mom. Sophia turned to our mother, her voice desperate. Tell them how it's not that simple. Mom stepped forward, her hands raised in a placating gesture. Zane, please, with all due respect. I don't want to hear it, Zane cut her off, his voice sharp. I've watched you excuse Sophia's behavior for 2 years, and now I understand why she thinks this is okay. Zane, please, Sophia sobbed, tears streaming down her face. I love you. Love doesn't steal, he said, his voice breaking, raw with pain. Love doesn't lie. He turned to me, his eyes filled with regret. I'm so sorry, Esther. I had no idea. It's not your fault, I said softly, my heart aching for him, but my resolve firm. Take it off, he told Sophia, his voice cold and final. Now. No. She clutched her hand to her chest, as if the ring were a part of her. You can't make me. Actually, James spoke up, his tone professional but firm. If you don't remove that ring voluntarily, we'll have to involve the police. Theft over $5,000 is a serious crime. Sophia's face crumpled, her shoulders shaking as she slowly pulled the ring off, dropping it on the counter like it burned her. James picked it up, examining it carefully before handing it to me. The setting's been altered, he noted, but we can restore it to its original state within a week. This is what you wanted, isn't it? Sophia spat at me, her voice dripping with venom. To humiliate me? To ruin my life? No, I said, slipping my ring into my purse, my voice calm but resolute. I wanted the truth to come out. Everything else is just the consequences of your own actions. Zane moved toward the door, pausing to look back at Sophia one last time. Don't call me. Don't text me. We're done. Zane. Sophia tried to follow him, but Mom held her back as he walked out, his shoulders squared, his steps heavy with finality. Are you happy now? Mom glared at me, her voice trembling with anger. You've destroyed your sister's relationship. No, Mom, I said, my voice steady, my heart heavy but unyielding. Sophia destroyed it herself. And if you'd ever held her accountable for anything, maybe she wouldn't be in this situation. I turned to James, my voice calm but grateful. Thank you for your help. I'll be back next week for the ring. As I walked out, I heard Sophia's sobs and Mom's attempts to console her, their voices fading into the background. For the first time, I felt no guilt, no obligation to make things right. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them face the music they've been playing all along. 3 days after the jewelry store confrontation, Dad showed up at my apartment, his shoulders slumped, his usual confident posture replaced by something that looked a lot like defeat. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly, his voice heavy with exhaustion. I stepped aside, letting him enter, my heart guarded but curious. He settled onto my couch, looking around at the boxes I'd been packing, a tangible sign of my decision to move forward. "You're really moving out of the house?" "I can't stay there anymore," I said, sitting across from him, my voice steady but soft. "Not after everything." He nodded slowly, his eyes distant. "Sophia hasn't left her room since that day. Your mother's beside herself." "And how are you, Dad?" I asked, my voice gentle but probing. He met my eyes for the first time, his gaze filled with a raw honesty I wasn't used to seeing. Ashamed of myself, mostly. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about how we got here." The front door opened, and Bruno walked in with coffee and bagels, his presence a quiet comfort. He froze when he saw Dad, then carefully set the breakfast down. "I should give you two some privacy," he said, his voice kind but cautious. "No," Dad stood up, his voice firm but warm. "Stay, please. You're part of this family too, or at least you will be, if you still want to be after everything we've put Esther through." Bruno moved to stand behind my chair, his hand resting supportively on my shoulder, a silent reminder of his unwavering support. "I love your daughter, sir. Nothing your other daughter did changes that." "Sophia's been fired from her job," Dad said suddenly, his voice heavy with the weight of the news. "Apparently, she had a complete meltdown at work yesterday, started screaming at a client who was wearing an engagement ring." "That's not my problem," I said firmly, my voice steady, my heart close to the guilt they'd always tried to pile on me. "No, it's not," Dad agreed, surprising me with the conviction in his tone. "Just like it wasn't your problem when she crashed your car in college or when she borrowed money from your savings account last year. We always made it your problem, didn't we?" I felt tears threatening, but I held them back, my voice steady. "You and Mom always said I needed to protect her, to understand her." "We were wrong," Dad's voice cracked, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "We failed both of you. We failed Sophia by never teaching her consequences, and we failed you by making you responsible for her actions." A knock at the door interrupted us, sharp and unexpected. Bruno answered it, revealing Mom and Sophia standing there, their faces a mix of determination and desperation. "Family intervention," Sophia announced, pushing past Bruno, her eyes red from crying, but her movements filled with a manic energy. "We're fixing this right now." "There's nothing to fix," I said, standing up, my voice firm and unyielding. "You need to leave." "No." Sophia planted herself in the middle of my living room, her voice rising with every word. "This has gone on long enough. Zane won't answer my calls. I lost my job. And it's all because you couldn't just let me be happy." "Sophia," Dad's voice held a warning, but she ignored him, her words spilling out in a frantic rush. "You've always been jealous of me," she continued, her eyes wild with accusation. "You couldn't stand that Zane might love me more than Bruno loves you. That's enough." Dad's shout made us all jump, his voice booming through the small apartment. "Sophia, stop talking right now." "But, Daddy," she started, her voice breaking. I said stop. He turned to face her fully, his face red with anger and pain. "Do you have any idea what you've done? You committed a crime. You betrayed your sister. You lied to a man you claimed to love. And now you're standing here, still trying to make yourself the victim." Mom stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Lamar, please, she's hurting." "Of course she's hurting. Dad threw up his hands, his voice raw with frustration. Actions have consequences, something we should have taught her 20 years ago. Sophia burst into tears, her voice small and desperate. I just wanted what Esther has. Is that so wrong? Then you should have earned it. Bruno spoke up, his voice firm but kind, his presence a steady anchor in the chaos. Instead, you tried to steal it. There's a big difference. Get out, I said quietly, my voice steady but final, my patience long gone. All of you. I'm done with this conversation, this drama, all of it. Esther, please, Mom pleaded, her eyes wide with desperation. We're family. Family doesn't steal from each other, I said, my voice low and unyielding. Family doesn't enable theft and lies. Family doesn't show up uninvited to make more demands. Sophia lunged forward suddenly, grabbing my purse from the coffee table. Where's the ring? Give it back. Bruno moved quickly, taking the purse from her hands, his movements calm but firm, while Dad pulled her back, his face red with anger. That's it, Dad said, his voice shaking with rage. We're leaving. Now. But Sophia started, her voice breaking. Now, Sophia. He turned to me, still holding her arm, his eyes filled with regret. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. For everything. When you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'd like to try to make things right. As they left, I could hear Sophia's hysterical sobs echoing down the hallway, Mom's soothing murmurs, and Dad's heavy footsteps, each one a reminder of the fracture in our family. Bruno pulled me into a hug, his arms warm and steady. You okay? Actually, yeah, I said, looking up at him, a small smile tugging at my lips. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm seeing my family clearly. And I'm not responsible for fixing their mess anymore. Your dad seems to be waking up, Bruno said, his voice soft but hopeful. Maybe, I sighed, my heart heavy but hopeful. But it's too little, too late. Some things can't be fixed with apologies. Bruno kissed my forehead, his touch grounding me. So, what now? I looked around at the half-packed boxes, at the life we were building together, a life free from the weight of my family's drama. Now, we move forward without the drama, without the guilt, without Sophia's chaos. And your parents, he asked, his voice gentle. They made their choice a long time ago, I said, my voice steady, my heart resolute. Now they have to live with it. 2 weeks passed, and my ring was restored to its original setting, its brilliance undimmed by Sophia's betrayal. Bruno and I moved into our new apartment, a fresh start filled with hope and possibility. I hadn't heard a word from Sophia, and for the first time, the silence felt like peace. But peace never lasts long in my family. I was sorting through mail when I found it, a glossy wedding magazine with my name on the subscription label. Inside was a post-it note in my mother's elegant handwriting. Please call me. We need to talk. My phone rang as if on cue, Kimberly's name flashing on the screen. Turn on your Instagram right now, she said without greeting, her voice urgent. Hello to you too, I laughed, opening the app, my heart already sinking. What's going on? Just look at Sophia's latest post, she said, her tone a mix of disbelief and amusement. My stomach dropped as I saw it, a photo of Sophia in a wedding dress, standing in what looked like a bridal boutique, her smile radiant but forced. The caption read, "Sometimes the worst betrayals lead you to your best decisions. Wedding planning starts now. New chapter. #moving on. Is she serious? I asked Kimberly, my voice incredulous. She's not even dating anyone. Keep scrolling, Kimberly said, her voice laced with anticipation. The next post was worse, a close-up of Sophia's hand, wearing a new ring, smaller than mine, but still impressive. The caption read, "When someone better comes along and shows you what real love looks like. Thank you for saving me from settling, sis. #upgraded #better than ever." My phone buzzed with another call, Mom. Against my better judgment, I switched over. Did you see? She asked immediately, her voice tight with urgency. Sophia's delusional Instagram posts? Yeah, I saw, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. She's not delusional, Mom said carefully, her tone measured. She's been seeing someone, a friend of your father's business partner. He's well established. You mean he's rich and desperate enough to date someone who just got exposed for theft? I said, my voice sharp. Esther, please. Of course he is, I laughed, the sound bitter and raw. And I'm sure you and Dad had nothing to do with setting this up. Actually, Mom's voice hardened, a rare edge to it. Your father refuses to meet him. He's still struggling with everything that happened. A knock at my door interrupted us, loud and insistent. I opened it to find Dad standing there, looking uncomfortable, his usual confidence replaced by a quiet unease. I'll call you back, I told Mom, hanging up before she could protest. Hi, Dad said, shifting his weight, his eyes searching mine. Can we talk? I let him in, noticing how he'd aged in just 2 weeks, the confident businessman gone, replaced by someone who looked lost, adrift in the wreckage of our family. Sophia's getting married again, he said, sitting heavily on my couch, his voice heavy with resignation. To your business partner's friend, Marcus. So I heard, I said, my voice neutral, my heart guarded. Dad spat the name like it tasted bad. Your mother thinks it's wonderful. I think it's a disaster waiting to happen. Why are you here, Dad? I asked, my voice soft but probing, my eyes searching his for answers. He pulled out his phone, showing me a text from Sophia. Daddy, please give Marcus a chance. He's nothing like Zane. He understands me. Mom says you're just being difficult. Don't you want me to be happy? She's doing it again, he said quietly, his voice thick with pain. Manipulating, pushing, trying to force everyone to accept her choices without question. But this time I see it. Too little, too late, I muttered, my heart heavy but resolute. I know, he said, looking up at me, his eyes filled with regret. I've been seeing a therapist, trying to understand how I let things get so bad, how I failed you both so completely. I blinked, surprised, my guard lowering slightly. You're in therapy? Twice a week, he said, his voice steady but raw. Your mother refuses to go, says there's nothing wrong with how we raised you girls. He laughed bitterly, the sound hollow. But there wasn't there? We created this mess. My phone buzzed again, a text from Kimberly with a screenshot. Sophia had posted another photo, this time of her and a middle-aged man I assumed was Marcus, captioned, "When you upgrade from a boy to a man. Sorry, not sorry. Hashtag living my best life." I showed it to Dad, who closed his eyes in pain, his face etched with regret. She tagged Zane in it, I said, my voice low. She's trying to hurt him. Of course she is, he said, his voice heavy with resignation. It's what she does when she doesn't get her way. He stood up suddenly, his movements decisive. I'm selling my share of the business. What? Why? I asked, my voice rising with shock. Because Marcus works there. Because I can't stand watching your mother and sister manipulate another man into their web of lies. Because I need to start over somehow. I studied him carefully, searching for the man who had always chosen peace over truth. And what about Sophia's wedding? What wedding? He said, a sad smile tugging at his lips. She met this man 2 weeks ago. She's putting on a show, trying to prove she's won somehow. And your mother's enabling it, just like always. My phone lit up with another text, this time from Sophia. Hope you're happy with your boring life and basic ring. Marcus bought me a real diamond. Guess some men just know how to treat their women right. I showed Dad the message, watching as he read it, his face crumpling. Then, something unexpected happened, he cried, tears streaming down his face, his shoulders shaking with the weight of his guilt. I'm so sorry, he whispered, his voice breaking. I'm so damn sorry. I watched him break down, this man who had always seemed unshakable, and felt something shift inside me, not forgiveness, exactly, but understanding, a crack in the wall I'd built around my heart. Dad, I said softly, my voice gentle but firm, would you like to stay for dinner? Bruno's making lasagna. He wiped his eyes, nodding, a small smile breaking through his tears. I'd like that. I'd like that very much. The annual family charity gala wasn't something I planned to attend, but when Dad called and said he needed moral support, I couldn't say no. Bruno adjusted my necklace as we walked into the hotel ballroom, squeezing my hand reassuringly. Remember, he whispered, his voice warm and steady, we can leave anytime. I spotted Sophia immediately, impossible to miss in a red dress that cost more than my monthly rent, Marcus's hand possessively on her waist. Mom hovered nearby, beaming with pride as she introduced them to everyone, her smile a carefully crafted mask. Esther. Mom's voice carried across the room, bright and artificial. Come meet Marcus properly. Here we go, I muttered, but Bruno guided me forward with a steady hand, his presence a quiet anchor in the storm. Marcus looked exactly like his Instagram photos, silver-haired, expensive suit, 2 white teeth. He extended his hand, his smile polished but insincere. The famous sister. Sophia's told me so much about you. Has she? I said, smiling tightly, my voice laced with sarcasm. All good things, I'm sure. Of course, Sophia giggled, pressing herself against Marcus, her eyes gleaming with a mix of defiance and desperation. I was just telling him how you inspired me to upgrade my life. Everything happens for a reason, right? Speaking of reasons, Marcus said, his smile widening as he turned to my parents, Sophia and I have an announcement to make. Dad appeared beside me, his face tight, his eyes wary. An announcement? Marcus, baby, Sophia cooed, her voice syrupy sweet. Not yet. We agreed to wait. I can't wait another minute, Marcus said, clinking his glass to gather everyone's attention, his voice booming through the ballroom. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of announcing that in 3 weeks, Sophia will become my wife. The room erupted in applause, a wave of murmurs and congratulations. Mom rushed forward to hug them both, her face radiant with pride, but Dad stayed rooted beside me, his jaw clenched, his eyes dark with disapproval. 3 weeks. Bruno whispered, his voice incredulous. That's insane. We're having a small destination wedding in the Maldives, Sophia announced, her voice dripping with fall sweetness as she looked directly at me. Very exclusive. Family only, of course. Well, some family. Sophia, Dad's voice held a warning, low and dangerous, but she blinked innocently, her smile unwavering. I just think it's best to keep things intimate, she said, her voice saccharine. After all, some people might not approve of my happiness. You mean some people might tell Marcus about your history of theft, I said quietly, my voice steady but cutting, my eyes locked on hers. The color drained from Sophia's face, her smile faltering. Marcus frowned, his brow furrowing. Theft? What theft? Nothing. Mom stepped in quickly, her voice bright but strained. Just sisters being sisters. Marcus, let me introduce you to the board members. As Mom whisked them away, Dad turned to me, his voice low and urgent. I'm not going to the wedding. Dad, no, I said, my heart heavy but my resolve firm. This is wrong. He's twice her age. They barely know each other. And Mom, I took a deep breath, my voice steady. Mom's already talking about how his money will solve all of Sophia's problems. A commotion near the entrance drew our attention, the crowd parting to reveal Zane standing there, looking sharp in a suit, his new girlfriend beside him, her hand resting lightly on his arm. Oh, God, Bruno muttered, his voice low. Sophia's screech cut through the murmur of conversations, sharp and piercing. What is he doing here? He's still my business partner's son, Dad said firmly, his voice unyielding. He has every right to be here. Sophia stormed over to us, Marcus trailing behind, looking confused, his polished facade cracking. Daddy, make him leave. No, Dad said, his voice steady, his eyes locked on hers. What do you mean, no? She stamped her foot, her voice rising like a child throwing a tantrum. After what he did to me? After what you did to him, I corrected, my voice calm but cutting. You stole my ring, lied to him, and then tried to publicly humiliate him on social media. What ring? Marcus asked, his voice sharp, his eyes darting between us. Sophia, what are they talking about? Mom appeared as if by magic, her voice bright but desperate. Nothing important, Marcus. Ancient history. No, I said loudly, drawing attention from nearby guests, my voice steady and unapologetic. Not ancient history. 3 months ago, Sophia stole my engagement ring and tried to pass it off as her own. When she got caught, she had a public meltdown and lost her job. Marcus stepped back from Sophia, his face a mask of shock. Is this true? They're lying. Sophia's voice rose hysterically, her eyes wild with panic. They're just jealous because you're successful and rich and old enough to be your father, Dad cut in, his voice sharp and unyielding. And desperate enough to propose to someone he's known for 2 weeks. Lamar. Mom gasped, her face paling, but Dad ignored her, his eyes locked on Marcus. My daughter is a thief and a liar, he said, his voice steady but raw with pain. My wife enables her. And you, sir, are either very naive or very foolish. The room had gone silent, the air thick with tension. Sophia's mascara ran down her cheeks as she looked wildly around, her voice breaking. Marcus, baby, don't listen to them. They're trying to ruin us, like they ruined me and Zane. But Marcus was already backing away, his face a mask of disgust, his voice low and final. I think I've heard enough. No. Sophia grabbed his arm, her voice desperate. You promised me a villa in Monaco. You said. What? Marcus jerked away, his voice rising with disbelief. That I'd save you? Fix you? I think I've heard enough. As Marcus strode out of the ballroom, Sophia collapsed into dramatic sobs, her body shaking with the weight of her own choices. Mom rushed to comfort her, shooting daggers at Dad and me, her face a mix of anger and desperation. Well, Bruno said quietly, a wry smile tugging at his lips, I guess the wedding's off. Dad laughed, a real, genuine laugh I hadn't heard in years, the sound warm and unexpected. Come on, let's get out of here before your mother decides this is somehow my fault too. As we left, I heard Sophia's wails echoing behind us, a sound that once would have filled me with guilt, with an obligation to fix things. But now, it just reminded me how far I'd come from being the sister who always had to clean up her messes. The morning of my wedding dawned bright and clear, the air filled with the promise of a new beginning. I stood in the bridal suite, Kimberly adjusting my veil, her hands steady and sure. A knock at the door made us both freeze, my heart catching in my throat. Esther, Dad's voice came through, soft but urgent. Someone's here to see you. I opened the door to find Dad standing there with Mom, who looked smaller somehow, more fragile than I remembered, her designer outfit unable to hide the vulnerability in her eyes. 5 minutes, Dad said softly, his voice gentle but firm. That's all she's asking for. Kimberly squeezed my shoulder, her voice low. I'll be right outside if you need me. Once we were alone, Mom stepped forward, twisting her hands together, her eyes searching mine. You look beautiful, she said, her voice soft but sincere. Thank you, I said, staying by the door, my heart guarded, ready to escape if needed. Sophia's in rehab, she said abruptly, her voice trembling. After the gala, after everything, she had a breakdown. A real one this time, not just for show. I heard, I said, my voice neutral. Dad told me. Did he tell you I'm seeing his therapist too? She asked, her voice cracking with emotion. I blinked, surprised, my guard lowering slightly. No, he didn't. It's hard, she said, her voice trembling, tears welling in her eyes. Looking at yourself in the mirror and realizing you've been the villain in your own daughter's story, that everything you thought you were doing out of love was actually destroying both your children. I didn't respond, waiting, my heart heavy but open, curious to see where this would lead. Sophia's therapist asked her to write letters to everyone she's hurt, Mom said, pulling an envelope from her purse, her hands shaking. Her letter to you. She wanted me to give you this, but she also said she understands if you never read it. I took the envelope, feeling its weight in my hands, the paper cool against my fingers. Is that why you're here? To deliver Sophia's letter? No. Mom straightened her spine, her voice steady now, her eyes meeting mine with a raw honesty I'd never seen before. I'm here to deliver my own apology, not in a letter. You deserve to hear it face to face. Mom, please, I started, but she held up her hand, her voice firm but gentle. Let me say this, she said, her eyes glistening with tears. I failed you, Esther. I failed you every time I made excuses for Sophia, every time I put her wants above your needs, every time I made you feel like being responsible and honest somehow made you less special. Tears spilled down her cheeks, smearing her perfect makeup, her voice breaking with the weight of her guilt. I was so focused on protecting Sophia that I never protected you from her, from my own bias, from the unfair burden we placed on you. And I am so sorry. I felt my own eyes welling up, my heart aching with the pain of years of being unseen, unheard. Why no? I asked, my voice soft but probing. Because I finally understand what I lost, she said, her voice trembling but sincere. My relationship with you, your trust, the chance to be part of your life, your marriage, your future, your family. She wiped her eyes, her hands shaking. And because, for the first time, I'm not here to ask for anything. I just needed you to know that I know what I did wrong. The door cracked open, Bruno peeking in, his voice gentle. Sorry to interrupt, but we're almost ready to start. Mom nodded, gathering herself, her voice steady but soft. Of course. I'll go find my seat. Unless you'd rather I leave. I looked at her, really looked at her, the designer outfit the same, but something in her eyes different, humbler, more real. Stay, I said softly, my voice steady but open. But, Mom, this doesn't fix everything. I know, she said, a sad smile tugging at her lips. But maybe it's a start. After she left, Bruno pulled me close, his arms warm and steady. You okay? Yeah, I said, touching Sophia's unopened letter, my heart lighter than I expected. I think I actually am. Want to know a secret? He grinned, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Your dad's been taking dance lessons for weeks. He's determined not to mess up the father-daughter dance. I laughed, picturing my straight-laced father in dance class, his determination a quiet act of love. He's really trying, isn't he? They both are, Bruno said, kissing my forehead, his touch grounding me. Ready to get married? I set Sophia's letter aside, knowing I'd read it eventually, but not today. Today was about moving forward, not looking back. Actually, I said, straightening my veil, a smile spreading across my face, there's something I need to do first. I found Dad pacing in the hallway, muttering dance steps under his breath, his face a mix of nerves and determination. Dad, I said, my voice soft but clear. He turned, his eyes brightening, a smile breaking across his face. You look perfect. Walk me down the aisle, I said, my voice steady, my heart open. He offered his arm, then hesitated, his voice thick with emotion. You know, all those years I spent enabling Sophia, trying to keep the peace, I forgot what real strength looks like. But you reminded me. You stood up for what was right, even when it cost you everything. Not everything, I said, taking his arm, a warmth spreading through me. I gained something too, a father who finally sees me. The music started, our cue to begin, a soft melody filling the air with promise. As we walked toward Bruno, I caught Mom's eye in the audience, her smile tentative but hopeful. I found myself smiling back, a small gesture of peace, a crack in the wall between us. Some things couldn't be fixed with apologies and letters. Some relationships would never be the same. But standing there, surrounded by people who had learned the hard way what real love looks like, I realized something important. Sometimes, the happy ending isn't about forgetting the past. It's about building a better future, one honest moment at a time. Ready? Dad whispered as we reached the altar, his voice soft but steady. I squeezed his arm, looking ahead at Bruno, at the life we were building together, my heart full and sure. More than ready. Please feel free to comment below if you liked this. Remember to like and subscribers for more.